Namaste and welcome to Reading Revellers. My name is Praveen Joshi. Today we are going to talk about food and how everyday food can be used as medicine. We have a very special guest, Mr. Bikram Vaidya. Mr. Vaidya lives in Portland, Oregon in the United States of America. He has been teaching Western and Eastern cuisine for over 20 years as a lead chef instructor at Oregon Culinary Institute for over 16 years. He has inspired a generation of chefs through his unique food heritage. He has worked at renowned hotels and restaurants, such as Farallon at Sheraton Palace Hotel in San Francisco. Born in Kathmandu, Nepal, Mr. Vaidya's forefathers practiced Ayurveda, which is based on using food, herbs, and spices as medicine. He is a kitchen doctor who is teaching ancient wisdom and traditional ways of cooking to raise health awareness. Today, we'll be talking to Mr. Bikram Vaidya about his culinary journey, and we will hear from him on practicing food as medicine. Mr. Vaidya, welcome to the show.
Namaste, Praveenji. How are you today?
Good, good. Thank you very much for asking.
Yeah.
I'm sure I failed to do a full justice to your background and experience. Is there something that you would like to add?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to talk a little more about my past. Thanks for invitation, you guys. Today I will be talking about Nepali culinary tradition because it's a thousands of years old history. We have the knowledge has passed down for one generation to another generation, especially in my family. It's almost since we have like a family history all the way dated back to 1500. This is not a like yesterday history, and we are royal family doctors. So we have even more collection of a massive evidence of a lot of these remedies of ancient healings. I grew up in a downtown Kathmandu, but especially in a Asantol. So everybody knows those who have been to Asantol or Nepal. So like you said, our family has been, practicing Ayurveda for a generation. So we are not just a practice generation of Ayurveda, we practice the modern medicine too. Our families, 6, 7 of them are still medical doctors, and some of them are first Western allopathic doctors in Nepal, actually, out of our family. And our pharmacy is probably first generation pharmacy open in Nepal. So our family has not just practicing one kind of food. Like Ayurvedic, it's practiced like both. And so that's why I wanted to share certain things. I thought it is important to share with the people. And still today, a lot of people in Nepal, as they're using food as a medicine or, home remedy, like we discussed before about this in your dad's or grandparents' villages, same thing happened. They're still using same. Modern medicine was introduced in Nepal not long ago, actually, But think about it. Still today, the doctors are prescribing people a Western medicine, and same time, they will give you advice. Hey, don't eat this, don't eat that. You experienced it probably, and a lot of other Nepalis too. And that's one thing I find very lack in America. If you ask a doctor, would you please check my pulse or do eat? What should I not eat? And they're like, oh, you can eat anything. It's like I'm not bashing down anybody. It's just my experience, because I'm family from, practice for both sides, That's what I wanted to talk today. I believe we should be aware of what we eat every day,
Excellent. Yeah, going to doctor here in North America and not getting advice on what not to eat was also came as a surprise to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get straight to the subject then, and we have a lot to cover today. I would like to start from where we are, and that would be North America.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about what people in North America like about Eastern food? And by Eastern food, I mean Asian food in much broader sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I taught a lot of young people and old people and the culinarians and the regular people about most of the stuff I found is the complexity of flavor and the fresh ingredients used and seasonal product, what we use, and benefit behind the health. And I think that's what the more people are attracted than anything else. And then there's a massive way varieties of cooking technique. And also it's a wide, wide varieties of food range you can find in our in Asian cuisine. It's not just like a grilled chicken or something and put a little bit sauce on top. Is more, you can find a tropical, you'll find a mountain, desert climate food. I mean, think about it. If you talk about Indian food, I mean, there's so many varieties. Chinese food is varieties, Thai food, same way. It's, even our Nepal is 1/3 size of Oregon. And we have a range from tropical to high Himalayas, you know, that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah, you are from Nepal, and that's and Nepal is a very diverse country. We have 36 different ethnic communities in Nepal, and all have uniqueness in their food, how they prepare and consume food. Could you shed some light on the food from Nepal in general and specific to your ethnic community?
Sure. I mean, you know, when we talk about Nepali food tradition, it is very old, rich history, you know, due to very fertile lands down south, and there are the wide varieties of fresh food production all over, especially in the lower land, Nepal, and middle land hillside. And you know, mostly people we eat seasonal food. It's because you know there's no big use chef way transferring from food from one person to one place to another place. We have a wide range of rare exotic herbs found in the Himalayas, which is known as you know, medicine world. It is one of the best. Just few examples like a black and red tumor. There are over 248 types of like tumor is basically, first of all, tumor is Szechuan peppercorn, but black tumor and red tumor, one of those varieties, is very medicinal, and it only grows in Nepal. There is nowhere else in the world. Another thing is Yarsagumba, which is a larva which found fungi, and then also black cardamom, cassia leaves. These are very unique stuff which only found in Nepal. You know, Nepali food, we eat fresh dal bhat, you know, like a rice, lentil, and then we talk about like a millet. You know, a lot of people don't eat millet flour, barley flour, and fish and poultry and fermented vegetable and dairy product. I mean, we have such a wide range of food we can get in our country, you know. I just like to give a really example is like fruits is a big part of our diet, right, in Nepal, but only fruits grows and find only particular places, right? And then we only eat that, consume it. Just like a helambu. Helambu is a mountain where only we get apple, but not other places. And we joke around like, oh, you know, the girls from Helambu has the cheeks of red apples, you know, it's so beautiful. I mean, and it's kind of really, there's a story behind food we have, you know, like mango from Tarai, only in the summertime, wintertime, Helambu ko shao. And it's like tangerine from orange, bananas from the east. It's like only hills, you know, we go through the mountains. Yeah. Herbs and spices, it's all used for medicinal properties, you know, especially in the, that's how it was, you know, all over Nepal.
Sweetie corazón.
Yeah, no, yeah, you brought up about the Helambu's apple. I had an honor to meet the singer in when I was in New York. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Just one thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about the pepper, the Sichuan pepper equivalent of Nepal. And I had an opportunity to go to University of Wageningen once in Holland. And the professor there had done immense amount of research around the world. And he couldn't really name that pepper uniquely. And he named it Nepali pepper. And that's how unique it is. It's not found anywhere else.
And Another thing about a rich heritage of Kathmandu Valley is culinary heritage of Kathmandu Valley. It's incredible because of the massive trading center. Kathmandu Valley is a 2,000 years old history, and our food is well known among Nepal because our food influence has brought here from everybody, from Eastern Nepal to Western Nepal to South to North. And it's like, the people who are living there, it's Newar people. Newar people are people who came from all over, and the ethnic peoples who live there for thousands of years. And they have a consist of 200 dishes. That's different, prepared in the best. Everything is based on season. Food is always associated with the occasion, and from birth to death, people's ceremony happens. And mainly, especially, you probably heard about a pose, elaborate, people sit down. And in each ceremony, they have about 25 different dishes like that in a bowls. I mean, think about it. We prepared well-balanced nutritional food during the lunar calendar. And also like a kwati puni. Do you heard about the soup, right? Kwati?
Yes. Yeah.
Like kwati means literally hot soup for full moon, right? And 9 bean soups are eaten. Those are so nice. Now it's scientifically proven that it's soaking any beans, reduce the amount of anti-nutrients compound, and its benefit for complex sugars. And, it's like a gas and bloating. Now think about people cooking in a pressure cooker nowadays. I mean, instead of sprouting. And that's what makes me laugh. We can talk all day about this. That's when people talk about food as a medicine, but they're not properly doing it.
Yeah. So excellent. I'm loving this where it's going. We covered the geographical differences and differences in food. Let's now come back to your heritage again. And I would like to start by talking about your name now. Earlier, before we started, we were having an interesting discussion about the meaning and significance of your last name, Vaidya. You did touch on it a little bit, but can you elaborate? I'm sure our listeners would be very interested to knowing about it as well.
Sure. So first of all, when we talk about Vaidya, we need to know what is Ayurveda. So that's what we are related with, Ayurveda. Ayurveda means, Ayur means life, Veda means knowledge. Basically, knowing your life, knowledge of your life. So everybody has a right to have knowledge of their own, right? I think it is a system of medicine originated in India. I know it's way back to Vedic time. The practice is basically based on 5 elements. Ayurvedic believe that balancing these 5 elements is the key to success, to keep free from your most of the disease and allergies or anything in your body. So know your body or know yourself, So understand your one body, figure out what is good for you and how it strengthens the immune, how you build the immune system by eating correct diet. And Vaidya is simply, their job is to discover the health of the patient and checking patient's pulses, tongue, stomach, and what we call is Agni, which is the fire in your stomach. So if off balance of Agni, it's what causes major problem. So our navel is the master or key to success, how your health, keep your health. So that's why Ayurvedic, not just discovering constitutional type is the key, and building the strength of your health by eating right kind of herbs, right kind of food, and yoga and meditation. And that's what people don't think about. Oh, I'm going to take a herbal medicine and they don't do right things, not doing yoga or practicing inhaling, exhaling, all this practice. So I think it is Vata, Pitta, Kapha, those 4 free constitution is the key to understand that. That's what our ancestor has practiced.
Right. So from medicine focused or medicine related last name to now you're sort of a kitchen chef and kitchen doctor, you say, like. So
Yeah.
does am I hearing right that Vaidya and chef sort of go hand to hand now?
Not only now, actually in ancient time. So
Right.
that's why I choose this practice. Yes, my family's been rural doctors, but I, I, uh, I am in a hospitality business for a long time with the tourists in Nepal. So I decided to join this because I thought, well, if I teach how to people eat properly, then they don't need to go to a hospital or doctor, right? So that's why I did. In ancient days, what the royal Vaidya did, they went to the mountains with the chefs, and then they did a research and development menu for a royal family. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
particular region or that particular, and all that knowledge they gathered and they experimented and they feed when royal family or they are practicing going over visit somewhere, that's when they eat the proper kind of food, and that's all those knowledge has gathered and they kept it in archives, and those archives are still exist in a royal in a Mullakalins exist from those days.
Mm-hmm.
And now those things are lost. Once chefs were like, has to have a maximum knowledge of the planet Earth. Now they don't have it. They just become a cook. So this is being a chef is not a, my grandfather used to say, the best way to learn is watch the grazing goat. So you will learn a lot potential plants.
Right. Just very interesting. Just as your ancestors collected the information and disseminated in certain way, you're doing the same, right? You're
Yeah.
disseminating your culinary knowledge that you have gathered over the years in the place that you currently reside in Portland, Oregon, in United States of America. Tell us a little bit about how's that going?
Uh, Actually, it's going really well, and I feel really blessed. Many years ago, I was afraid to talk about Ayurveda because I was discouraged by people. It's like, what are you talking in a parties? It's like, oh, Ayurveda, that you're still following those old paths. And I just shut off myself. One person with a big vision, he's my good friend and mentor, Chef Brian Wolke, who is the founder of Oregon Culinary Institute. He has been to India. He lived in Nepal and India. So he gave me opportunity to come and share with our students at the school. So that really changed my life. And I talk a lot about, with a lot of students, I talk about healthy living and how to cook properly, how to do a sanitation, we have sanitation rules for thousands of years, right? Grains, how we eat legumes, seasonal vegetable, rather than, and then I talk about flavor complexity, the history of herbs and spices, and what is importance of herbs and spices, and combination of complex flavor. That's what I taught them. Now I'm doing okay. I think I what I'm trying to teach them is getting it there. A lot of
Mhm.
people are appreciating that.
Nice. Yeah. One thing I haven't failed to notice, and I believe the viewers haven't failed to notice, is your background and my background. There is a sharp contrast between it. I know we'll come back to that later, but for
Okay.
now, I'd like to start with change a little bit of, or maybe just continue it for a while. I've heard that mind, body, and soul is all connected and influenced by what you eat or what we eat. Um, can you give us some suggestions or tips about
Sure.
making healthy choices in terms of what we eat?
So this is exactly it. That happened to me myself. Like I came to America and then I started eating. I was loving the burgers and going to McDonald's. I was just joking. So I know actually it's true. I love, American food, steaks, and I get really excited. But what you eat, who you are, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I started getting sick because what we have been eating since we were genetically dal bhat tarkari, suddenly I came to America, I started changing the diet. The everything just like a pounding, like a big huge punch on my face. Started actually gaining weight. I started losing a weight, and I started losing the appetite. All kind of things happen, you know. It's my mind started getting dull, and I'm getting depressed and stuff like that. A lot of things happen, and my mom said, "Hey, come home, son. You're not eating right." So, you know, so you have a choice in a medicine, you know, like a medicine. You always have a choice. So that's right kind of nutritional diet is a crucial, I think. You know, after I started eating, I think whatever your habit is eating, don't try to change around, you know, too much. I always tell people, just my suggestion is like I always says, plan ahead a menu, you know, at least by the 3 days. So that will give you a little chance to look at what kind of food you want to eat. But I will highly recommend people to eat uh, grain, you know, unrefined grain, a maximum plant diet, and fermented food. Fish is good, dairy product, and not dairy all the things, you know, like there additive stuff, processed stuff is pretty bad. I will definitely add micronutrients like herbs and spice. People don't understand why we use those herbs and spice. People think it's for flavor. That's not true. It is for micronutrient that helps to digest your food in your stomach. But sometimes people pour tons of spices. That's not good either. So don't over spice. Try to, you know, minimize, you know, stop using artificial flavor. And another thing I have it right here, it's using this kind of things, you know, like bottle stuff, spices. These things have a lot of artificial stuff. And that's a bad news, you know. People need to eliminate this kind of stuff.
Yeah, talking about McDonald's, you briefly took me back to my times when I was compelled to live a parsimonious life and sort of made some bad choices about health, and I did feel dumb, and I still do feel about that. Okay, earlier we talked about very long history of food in the Asian culture. And I'm interested in knowing what's your or could you give some insights on what we learned about the healthy food? I'm sure you have already started on that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because I experienced myself firsthand about being unhealthy. I went through a lot of health issue, and I had two choice. One way is keep unhealthy and a same old choice, or change my way of my living. You know, I had a choice. So I did a tremendous amount of research because I had my maximum asthma. I was in a maximum lots of this inhaler. I was in a medicine and all kind of stuff, you know. And I have a stomach issues. I go to doctor all the time. So I went back. I was so depressed, like I said, and I went back to Nepal, and everything I changed. I went through medicine. Two things I choose is Chinese doctors, and I did a Chinese practice medicine and also Ayurvedic. And these people have a knowledge for generations, thousands and thousands. If they already figured what to eat, what not to eat, you know, especially in China and India, huge amount of documentations, what kind of right eating and not eating. I even in the Western world, the hypocrites, you know, says let food diet be a medicine, right? In Ayurvedic says same thing. When diet is wrong, medicine is no use for, you know. If diet is right, medicine is no use for. I mean, that's very simple message out there. So I am saying like a simple food, eating, changing your good, like a timely matter or certain things, healthy food is really, really helps your body, you know. Like classical example, drinking tea, you know. A lot of people says tea means drinking like a leaf tea. Tea means so broad. Tea means, in my culture, tea means drinking liquid, hot liquid. It could be infused with meat, or it could be infused with tea leaves. So it's all medicine. So we, in a winter time, we freeze that stuff in outside and make it into jilo. It's a big deal, right? And we call tokha. It's a superfood, actually. It's a vital for our body, for collagen, you know? And we eat taro leaf because in Asia, people have been eating taro leaves for what we call is survival food. You know, our ancestors have been survived eating taro leaves and taro food. And another one is my biggest survival food was shisno, means nettle plant. You know, there's a guru who survived. His name is a green guru or Milarepa. He survived eating shisno, the nettle plant. Now today you can find in the capsules. Hey, so this is the stuff we have this for thousands of years, and that's what that just wanted to tell you. And some people think offal meats, you know, like all these different things. Yeah. We are not talking about just a plant diet. They balance the diet between meat and plants, you know. That's why I'm not saying all you have to go into the vegetarian diet, you know. It's good to have a vegetarian. Sometimes you need a meat too. So that's the balance force. And I have that on the backside, you know, those elements.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. And
you're welcome.
Talking about sisno, that brings back a lot of bad memories. A lot of Nepalese would understand what those bad memories are. Yeah. So you briefly talked about Chinese food and Indian food, and most people don't realize that Nepali food is so unique and different than most South Asian food, and most times it just gets lumped into the same mix. Can you point out some uniqueness about our knowledge and about our Nepalese food?
Sure. You know, I mean, that a lot of people don't understand Nepal, first of all, because they think that Nepal is the Himalayas and Nepal don't have anything, you know, except the Himalayas, and they don't understand the beautiful tropical rains we have. They don't understand. You climb the high Himalayas, and then when you go down to valley, it's suddenly tropical. You know, that's the concept. People have no idea. So it is very difficult. Nepali food can be vary from south to north. Style of cuisine depend on a region to region, from village to village. You know, it's depend on what they have available in that area. You know, even in a Solukhumbu area, there's 3 different kind of foods. You know, I mean, in eastern Nepal, 5 different kind of food. So that people have to firsthand experience. One thing for sure, most of food, our foods, is not greasy, for sure. Less spices, and we use a seasonal food, fresh seasonal food out of, lots of people have a little tiny garden. A lot of people don't realize that in Nepal. Even the poor people have a little land where their community garden where they can go get some flavor. You know, cooking is all about cooking like a technique. We have a unique technique like a frying, toward the end, beginning of the herbs using in the beginning or toward the end. This kind of technique, which is very different than any other Asian food, that's for sure. And aromatics, like using jimu, you know, because our country is so small, we have within the 2-3 days, you can get the herbs from Himalayas to south to north, exchange very fast. So we do have amazing flavor. People have to decide by going to Nepal, you know, and experience it.
Yeah, and going to Nepal, you should start from Kathmandu. Yeah, that's where you're from. And let's talk a little bit about the food in Kathmandu when you were growing up, and how has it changed for yourself to this point when you made a journey from Kathmandu, eating food someone else has cooked for you, and then making some bad choices in between, and then now you're a chef. And how has the meaning of food changed for you?
Well, you know, growing up in the heart of Kathmandu, where 1,000 years old history, that we grew up in Asantol, means it's a trading center. All the people, the fresh vegetable came in there, all the spices came there. The food was alive every day, you know. Food is a life, our life. Nepal, especially in Nepal Valley, Newari people have, without food, won't exist. So every month we have a festival. We have a more festival than, and we have a festival than anywhere in the world, actually, according to calendar.
Yes.
So food is part of our life, but festive seconds, right? And because it's we wait for festival and ceremonies when we were a kid to eat a good food. So you wait for 2 weeks, actually, then you have a good food. Seasonal vegetable, like I said, high priorities. And we don't, so one thing about eating particular food in a particular days are very important, especially particular foods are prepared during the festival and it has a name, like I just talked about, we talked about the Kwati Puni, means 7 bean soup day. Like in the winter, we have a Yomari Puni, which is, you probably heard about Yomari, which is rice dough, they filled with molasses and sesame. And I found out that to be a healthy stuff for your body for winter time, And momo, we don't eat every day in old days. You remember? I mean, nowadays it's every corner there's a momo and people are subbing in momo. That's the changes I'm finding. It's not very good, So like our culture is about feeding guests and feeding family, not buying a fancy old car and try to show and impress. Is our culture is about showing how much feeding I can do. I can feed to the people, right? It's kind of that kind of culture. Yes, today things are changing a little bit, I see it especially in a pose, like in an elaborate gastronomic fiestas, that buffet line is becoming more tradition than our old tradition is disappearing. And that's really sad. People are habitually changing. I see people are eating more snacks and drink and stop eating dinner. Oh, I'm done eating party. And then they go home and next day they have a dull mind. I'm not criticizing anybody, but that's the habit I'm finding. In the old days, we sit down, we relax, the chef will come, they'll talk, they'll give you, we have a process of pause. It's like a 3 hours of process. We sit and enjoy dinner by sitting like that, Now it's more new generation is attracted with the junk food, because of media.
Yeah, talking about media and technology, I have a very interesting question here about how do I make healthy choice from Uber Eats door delivery menu? I need help in making choices on the shelves ready to go. Can you help me? So do you have any suggestions on how to select food from this delivery?
Absolutely. I will highly recommend because I will depend on your, like how, do you have any allergy or do you have any kind of problem, health issue? First, find out that. And then based on that, I will highly recommend a couple books to buy. There's a book by, it's really good one, Ayurvedic cooking book. It's by, for Westerners. And also it has another one, she writes about Eastern food and Western food called Amanda Morningstar. She's really, really good. And for you, for if you are used to eating dal bhat tarkari, I would recommend you to eat less rice or eat a brown rice. You can eat a tero. It's a really helpful. Now you can make it a champa. It's depend on all what do you want to eat. But I would recommend to design the menu for 3 days. What do you like to eat? And I will write starts and I'll write a long list of starts and click mark which one do you like most. And then another one I write is vegetable, and then I write spices, right? I write into category. I have a category. And then another way to look at it is I do a seasonal thing. So I have a chart, seasonal chart. So what kind of vegetable grows in this season? So what kind of fruits and vegetable grows in this particular springtime? So I will target that price, that kind of food.
Right. And it's easy to do now.
Yeah,
I call it finger cooking. I think a lot of
yeah,
people do that as well. And when you're even selecting cooking recipe, then go for maybe a seasonal food and then something that is not allergic to you. So
yeah.
thanks for that comment. Let's come back to the
I
standard.
hope it helps.
I'm sure it did. I'm getting a lot of questions here on the side. I'll come back to that later. But let's switch gear and come back to the topic and talk about concepts such as food and medicine and farm to table, and we have heard about farm to fork.
Yeah,
Could you provide your understanding about those concepts?
sure. Definitely. Food is a medicine. But if you know how to eat properly, how to cook properly those food, then it becomes medicine. Food is not going to be medicine if you deep fry food. Those deep fryer oil is a contained with a bunch of chemical process deep fryer oil. Then that's, even you have organic food, it's not going to be good.
But it tastes
So
amazing though.
yeah. So, but yeah, there is a choices you can deep fry. I mean, there's no, I'm not saying that you should not, but you can have a alternative choices, deep frying. There is a good deep frying oil. Over spice is not good. Then it'll kill you, right? Over grilling. So when it becomes poison when you eat, it's wrong, digestive system is going to get started, go really bad, your process is going to go wrong way. So food is not going to help you even you have a good stuff. So simply food is building materials for your body. So food is going to be a part of you. You should prescribe yourself how you're going to live your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should prescribe. That's what I tell people, like this we talked about. You have to prescribe every day how you're going to live think that your body is a Lamborghini, okay? And then you start thinking about it. How do you want to take care of? I look at it that way every morning. My grandmother said, how are you going to live a long-term life, healthy life? It's like she used to yell at me on the telephone.
Yeah.
You drink too much beer. It's like, just simple things. In a jungle, animals don't need a veterinary, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Yeah, and it's all organic in
Yeah.
the jungle. So let's talk about the organic food a little bit. With the organic farming coming as a fashion, basically, really fast. And are we going back to the basics?
Yes, I like to get into that, but same times I want to talk about a little bit about farm to fork,
Sure.
Because of it is related questions.
Absolutely.
So simply, I mean, by buying farm to fork, it's a very complex topic right now, and people are selling the farm stuff and then in a grocery market, and then people, oh, this came from blah 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 farm. That's not what the concept is. That's a totally misconcept.
Mm-hmm.
Farm to fork is how we grew up, like in Asanthol, you grew up in your town. So vegetable market farmers brings the fresh handed, and then we buy it from them. That's the farm to fork. Okay, so that's it's not. And then people are buying the organic food. Oh, organic food is too expensive, So yeah, they go to Starbucks and spend $3 a Starbucks and sugar beverage, but not okay to buy a $5 organic egg, and that is too expensive. So I think it's becoming trend, which is really nice. I think organic food is kind of getting better and better, but we need to push more. I think people are not understanding more about organic vegetables. So there is so much involved in organic stuff. I would highly recommend people to do research on that. It has to be no GMO, no pesticides, because my brother-in-law has a ranch. And so he has to do a soil test to raise the cattle. So for organic beef. They even have to check the post. They should be free from any kind of chemical.
Mm-hmm.
So there is so many rules. So I will highly recommend to people to understand that part,
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting talk, and about time, like keeping time into our consideration as well.
Sure.
I want to go a little sideways now here and
Sure.
talk about all of the knowledge that you have amassed over the over the number of years, and now there is a rumor that you're writing a book about it, and can you tell us about it, and how far, and how far have you gone, and when do we expect it to be on the shelf?
Uh, Talking about my book, I'm done writing my stories and recipes. I did all the testing during this COVID. That's kind of nice.
Came as a
Only
blessing for
edition
you.
is editing part is left. Food photo and publication leftover. We might be able to publish by next year. And I believe that is very important to pass along my knowledge to the young generation, our cooking tradition. And modernization is changing our cuisine, like our land, our people's way of living. And I think it is very awareness, bring awareness is very important. I think there is a I travel east to west Nepal from village to village, and I got so much inspiration from those, thanks to those people who gave me so much inspiration uh, to document all these foods, especially one of the guy is my friend and like a brother, Romeo. And beside my all these friends, he's been really pushing me hard.
That's good. We'll look forward to reading your book, and I'm sure I'll be one of the person who buys it first. Um, I'll take a few questions from our audience today, and there's one comment, or seeking a comment about the Nepalese food here, and it goes like, I know of no other ethnic food in which green vegetables are as much a part of daily staple as Nepali food. Do you want to comment on that?
I,
Uh,
sorry, this is Naresh. I asked that question. When I meant green vegetable, I was thinking of green leafy vegetables.
Okay, yeah, green leafy vegetables, sag, as we call it in our country or language.
yeah, one more time. Sorry.
Sorry. So sag, or leafy vegetable, is an integral part of Nepali food, right?
Yeah.
And it's rarely seen in other parts of the world the way we have incorporated leafy vegetable in our cuisine, and the health benefits and are enormous in that
Oh,
sense.
yeah.
And can you comment a little bit on how it happened to be that we incorporated leafy vegetables in our food as much as none of the other ethnic communities are?
That's a good question, actually, because of our climate. Okay, because we have a monsoon. It is all depend on a monsoon. So monsoon is what blessed our country. That's why we have Himalaya exist. Without monsoon, there is no existence of Himalayas. So that's one thing we need to think about, the climate. So if climate change, we're screwed big time. Okay. So I think all this beautiful, great, a lot of rains, all the climates, what brings massive mountain sites, rain, and also riverside, all this water. So green vegetable grows very normal, right? So what our habit got is like, oh yeah, there's a green sag everywhere. So green plants everywhere, especially mustard grows wild. There's a lot of this green vegetable is naturally grows there without even plantation.
Right.
And so we got a habit of eating very simply, just in a karai, just put it in a karai and then sizzle and then we eat. By the way, the spinach is introduced in China from Nepal.
Oh, wow. Didn't know
Yeah.
that. Right. So the biodiversity of the Himalayas helped us shape our food, and that's true to most part of the world. And just that we have
We're blessed.
we are blessed with the biodiversity in
Yeah.
Nepal. That's an excellent comment. Thank you. And I have another question here, and it's rather long, so I'll read it through. Mr. Vaidya touched upon an interesting aspect of how these days chef is just a cook. And most of us have a cook in every household. We do not have deep knowledge about plants, herbs, or the superfoods grown around us. How do you think this can be mitigated? How can a cook be more educated and aware in terms of what fruits, vegetables are good for their family's health? Any specific resource for reading that you suggest? I know you talked about the Ayurvedic cooking book,
Yes.
Amanda Morningstar. Is
Yeah.
there anything else to add on that?
Yes. There are a lot of books, and especially nowadays, there's tons of resources to research, and that's what I'm advocating right now. All the Nepali young generation who are becoming a cooks, they should know this, and that is very important. Not just Western food, learning how to cook a French food and Italian food. We have a massive knowledge. We are losing it, and we have to preserve this. And our knowledge is a wealth. All this 1,000 years old history. All we have to talk is call grandma, first of all. Grandma cooking, mom cooking. Hey, what did you cook on this day, this season? That's the beginning, more than books. There's the greatest resource is our grandmothers, our mothers. That's the resource we need to use. And that's what people are losing it. And when they are boys, people are like, oh, I'm not going to be a cook. That's nothing shame about. It's your body. Are you going to say that I'm not going to put a really A-grade fuel in my Lamborghini? That's basically what it is. If that's what made me become a good chef, good cook, because I would become so aware of myself, my health, whether I did or I have an American wife, she doesn't know my Nepali food. She has lived in, but she loved Nepali food. What I'm saying is we studied together. And I became a good cook because I went to Nepal. I studied with the ladies, went to village. And that's a resource. Second thing is nowadays you have a lot of resources you can study. But like I said, Morning Star is good. And there's a healing spice by Dr. Bharat, a healing spice. He's amazing. This book is massive. It's really good. There are a lot other books about Nepal and Nepali cooking cookbooks too. There are a lot of good Nepali cookbooks, and I think that will give you some knowledge.
And there will be one more when your book comes out. And
yes,
I have a question. There is a question about that here. The seasonal vegetable chart knowledge that you talked about. Are you going to include that in your book as well?
That is a very complicated. I'm one because I'm thinking about just a basic chart, not like a thoroughly, because agriculture department has more resources on that one. So I might do just a basic, like once, like in the spring you get this. I have here's a small chart. Like in the Northwest, I have a little chart here in the Northwest. Okay, just we live in Northwest. So here we go. So spring, morel mushroom, peas, carrot, radish, feral head, fern, asparagus, artichoke. It's very good. And strawberry. Forget about eating apple in spring because Mother Nature provides you just blossom coming out. So pick that stuff and eat. In summer, now the hot sun comes, tomato, eggplant, chili, squash, berries, blackberries, those are really ripened. And now fully, the Mother Nature is providing all the nutrients they need. So we consume that. And fall, winter, squash, we have pumpkins, apple, pears, root, and vegetables. Those are really good. If you are in Nepal, citrus is really good. That's why in November, we make a phalfulko the sadeko, with the yogurt, and we mix that with melons and all kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So that's how it is. And in the winter, you eat a lot of winter squash, turnips, parsnip, and beets and stuff like that. So that's basic what I will suggest.
Right. Okay, so we ran out of questions. I ran out of questions, but then at the same time, I learned a lot about food. I'm much more smarter about food than I was an hour ago.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad
thank you.
I'm able to say something.
And thank you very much, Mr. Vaidya, for such an enlightening conversation on food. I'll definitely be mindful about what I eat going forward. I used to make, or I am still making at least one trip to McDonald's a year. So I'll think about that as well going forward. And thank you again for emphasizing on the importance of what we eat. Before we let you go, do you feel there was something that we didn't touch on today? Any closing notes on what you feel that left or are important that you want to emphasize on?
Like to mention some stuff, be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Especially people are nowadays are saying turmeric is a spice is the best, and turmeric, and people are just eating turmeric everything. And you got to be careful, okay? So herbs and spices can be medicine, and it can be poison, and it can be harmful for people, okay? This is very important. So it is a great for micronutrients and digestive system, but turmeric can hurt you too, because I have seen people got coriander powder and rash all over body, and the mouth was swollen in my class.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen turmeric has a, the USDA has found that turmeric has a chromat, So fresh turmeric and dry turmeric is totally different issue. Toxin can be a toxin. So fresh turmeric, it doesn't do much. My grandfather used to dry a turmeric, and they used to sun dry it. And then they say specific turmeric comes from Pacific region. So turmeric drying gets maximum volatile oil is concentrated, then it's become medicinal property. Not just as rubbing a bunch of turmeric and eating once a week, So you have to consume daily diet if you wanted to do it. I mean, that's what I have learned so far. I spend a lot of time with the great Ayurvedic doctors in Nepal. I still do. Actually, we do conversation a lot. And that's a fact.
Well, thank you for that note. And I would request a virtual applaud from our audience today. And again, thank you very much and have a good night.
One more thing, eat local and think global. Have a wonderful time. Okay, guys?
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Namaste.